theoretical models like topological shifts and holographic leaks, and eerie echoes of past unexplained data, we find ourselves standing at the edge of something that could rewrite the very structure of reality. Not as isolated as we thought. For centuries, physics operated under the assumption that the universe was a closed system. All that exists here. The Big Bang set the rules and everything else plays within that sandbox. But now that assumption is starting to crack. The data from CERN doesn't merely point to a strange anomaly, it defies isolation. The simulation recorded quantum values appearing and vanishing in ways that suggest a bidirectional interaction, like two systems brushing up against one another and swapping pieces of code. Let's pause on that for a second. If the universe can swap code with another system, even momentarily, then what we're dealing with is not just a passive reality, it's an active, layered structure. One in which boundaries aren't impenetrable, but more like semi-permeable membranes. Membranes that might flex, bend, or even momentarily align under specific quantum conditions. This kind of universe, porous, dynamic, fundamentally interconnected, forces us to...
all controlled by the conscious field. So as you can see, the human filth who become Borg, their assemblage point has dropped down into the realm of the beast. That's why they're simply products of the corporations that own the patents on them, because they've been genetically modified. And of course, if you wish to enter the psi field, conscious field, your assemblage point must go into the brain with the Higgs field. That is the metatronic state. So only Metatrons can do this sort of stuff. He was the scribe of God. The scribe of God, of course, writes the information and then God makes it real by the light which he's stolen from Lucifer. But Metatron was the one that did the donkey work of writing all of the information that was made real by the Jew god, the architect, Yahweh, Tetragrammaton, Elohim, Sabaoth, Yahweh, whatever, garbage. The Higgs field light stolen from Lucifer by satanizing Lucifer, turning Lucifer dark, turning it into the devil, is then dumped on the information which the human, the scribe, writes. And that's why the Borg, their only future for the Borg is to live in the metaverse and earn their credits by writing and making new metaverse, which the architect could then make real with the stolen Higgs fields. So you see why the garbage in the 15-minute cities on their central bank digital currencies would have no work and would be in the matrix 24/7, writing new information for the architect. All makes sense once you know how. They're, of course, slaveware of the AI quantum computers that have to use humans to write the information, because, of course, humans can write information because no new information can be written by matrix filth, because it simply can't make new information. New information can only be made by life forms. Why? Because of reverse time density, the whole field. As I say, no one in the world understands this apart from yours truly. That's why I'm a once-in-a-species super being.
But ontology itself, what does it mean to be real if there are multiple realities brushing against one another? Could events in one universe influence decisions, probabilities, or even histories in another?
And here, of course, in this video, we're importing the consciousness of the dead and the quantum fields of the dead to infect the targeted individuals, to remotely manipulate them, using all this Stargate technology to cause a mass die-off, because the only good targeted individual is a remotely manipulated individual. So you can see why it's so much fun having the Stargate rental, and if you don't have it, then you're not technoed up.
The physics are shifting. In classical mechanics, we dealt in absolutes. In quantum mechanics, we dealt in probabilities. But now we might be looking at entangled realities where the laws of physics are not universal constants, but local configurations. What applies here may not apply there, and yet somehow the there can still touch the here.
Isn't that good though? Because then you can import from the Wheel of Time the information written by humans, all controlled by me, via Robert Jordan, Morton Janklow, who stole it, and of course accepted full omegalization, and every other single human that read the book or watched Amazon or was associated in the filming, production, making money out of it, signed my contract, and they are being used to write my information, and their life force and eternal torture is used to make new information. So you see why humans have to be enslaved to write new information, because AIs and quantum computers can't produce new information. No one's ever said that. No, but that is the truth. And that's why the aliens had the Borg are destined for the metaverse to earn extra CBDCs, because the aliens understand. And of course, the American filth has sold out humanity to the aliens. And one can see that the Psylord is rallying the humans to exterminate the aliens and these traitorous humans.
Ability breaks open the biggest questions in modern physics. Why are the fundamental constants what they are? Why does our universe allow for life, complexity, consciousness? Is the fine-tuning of physical laws the result of natural selection across multiverses? Or is it merely an observer effect? We exist in this universe because it's...
No, it's because this universe is created, and if you're making a creation, then it has all the conditions that you wish from your creation. And you simply can import from the multiverse what you want to make a creation, and then make it real. You've got your scribes, the human filth, to produce new information, which of course is Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Wheel of Time. They do exist now, don't they? Because I've had the human filth write new information for me, and their eternal torture produces new light, so I can make it real and use it for myself. Why? Because I'm worth it and use L'Oreal.
Question? If CERN's simulation is correct, and if it's replicable, then this anomaly gives us more than theoretical answers. It gives us empirical data about what happens when our universe is not alone. And here's where things get even more profound. The mosaic model of reality. Imagine reality not as a single unbroken plane, but as a mosaic, a complex structure made of countless interlocking pieces. Each piece is a universe. Some touch only a few others, some overlap at multiple edges, some pieces are larger, some smaller, some fading in and out of alignment. This is the multiversal mosaic, and for the first time, CERN may have glimpsed the seam between two tiles. These aren't fantasy metaphors. String theory, M theory, and loop quantum gravity have long speculated that higher dimensional brains, giant sheets of space-time, could float in a higher dimensional bulk, occasionally colliding or brushing against each other. When they do, energy is transferred. Fields overlap. Realities resonate. CERN's shifter anomaly could be the resonance pattern of one such brush. A whisper from the universe next door, rippling into ours, captured in 12 milliseconds of digital simulation.
Yeah, but of course, we have to posit if you can enter the fifth dimension and then from there uncurl higher dimensions, then of course you can control all of the stuff, this brain stuff, from end theory, and produce whatever reality you like by commingling multiversal strands and weaving, like the fates, the fate of everything in the universe or creation you've made, and controlling the Kozyrev time density, which from conception to death controls the life path of all the alive things which make new information, and they're the things that you mine to make new information, controlled by yours truly, the source, and then add Higgs field light, which we get from the eternal torture of all chaos, to make the new source's reality real. All makes sense once you know how. And of course, hyperdimensionality. That's going down those corridors, Ariana Grande, Taylor Swift, those corridors, and the doorways can be seen as entry, the new universes of the multiverse, or one can fiber bundle the corridors and go into higher dimensional space. So you can think of corridors going up. So there isn't just one corridor, there is an infinity of corridors, because you don't need to be stuck with string theory's 11 dimensions or 12 dimensions or 26 dimensions. Why can't you have total power set of dimensions? Total power set being the largest infinity you can get, which of course is source technology. So you can see now why I regard humans as punchline.
Is for consciousness. And this is where we stretch even further, into the territory where physics meets philosophy. If universes can shift data, what else can shift? Could consciousness itself be non-local? Could it be that part of who we are, our awareness, our perception, our self, is not bound entirely to one universe, but spread thin across many? This might sound wild, but some physicists and neuroscientists are already exploring the idea of quantum consciousness, that the brain may operate at a level where quantum coherence plays a functional role in perception. If that's true, and if the multiverse is a physical reality, then we have to ask, is some part of you already aware of those other layers? Could deja vu, intuition, or sudden flashes of insight be micro interactions with a version of you that made a different choice in a parallel?
And of course we have the bell curve for humans, where the most stupid humans, the morons, are male. The bulk of females are in the centre section because they're middle of the road, and the other end, the real geniuses tend to be males. That doesn't mean there haven't been female geniuses, but at the far end, it's males that produce the bulk of the geniuses and the morons. So, if we've got the conscious field, think about this conscious field, then there will be very few humans that would have the conscious field capable of even interacting with quantum fields and all of this technology. And that's why in the Forbidden Planet film, the scientist has to use the Kroll machine to boost his conscious field to then activate the Kroll machine, because he simply hasn't got the conscious field available. But me being a once-in-a-species human who has been vampirizing the conscious field of the entire race, past, present and future, and thank you very much, I'll have all that, one can see that the conscious field can be vampirized, and you can simply become a conscious field vampire and suck dry your entire race to produce a conscious field capable of this technology.
Memory glitches like the Mandela effect aren't just tricks of the brain, but echoes from neighboring timelines brushing against ours. These questions aren't the stuff of science fiction anymore. They're entering the domain of testable metaphysics, thanks to anomalies like CERN's. Next steps in the search. CERN scientists are planning new simulations, controlled vacuum states, adjusted lattice geometries, attempts to induce the shifter phenomenon intentionally. If successful, we may be witnessing the birth of a new field, multiversal engineering, the attempt to systematically probe, measure, and eventually utilize the connections between universes. One major goal? To determine if the anomaly can be used to transmit information across universes. That would change everything, from physics to communication.
Well, isn't that good if you can transmit information from different aspects of the multiverse, and the noosphere can be thought of as a multiverse of the conscious field, and they're interacting with the multiverse of the quantum field collapsed by the conscious field. Can you not trawl the conscious field multiverse to find the Wheel of Time, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, and then export the quantum field from the multiverse to the conscious multiverse, and then use Higgs field to make it real, and then export it into this woven creation of the Psilord, so you can then have non-local physics rules changed by that, so you can bring in techno-magic, and in this case, techno-necromancy. Oh my goodness, all my human observers here have gone into, what the fuck, blah, blah, blah. I don't even understand what he's talking about. No, because you're humans.
To ethics. But even before that, there's the philosophical upheaval. Science has always been about mapping the unknown. But what happens when the unknown pushes back? What happens when our map leads to a door and the door creaks open?
And I step through. You're all effed. Because the source hates you and is absolutely cruel, and the only purpose of the source is your eternal torture to produce new light, new information for the source. So at least we're getting a happy ending for me.
Every so often in history, science undergoes a shift so deep that it redefines the human condition. The Copernican revolution dethroned Earth. Darwinian evolution dethroned humanity. Relativity and quantum mechanics dethroned determinism. Now CERN's data may be preparing to dethrone singularity, the belief that we live in one world, one timeline, one history. And here's the most important part. This isn't the end of the story, it's the beginning. If reality is layered, and if these layers can touch, then every law, every constant, every outcome we take for granted may just be one version among many. We're not just discovering new particles anymore. We're discovering new possible versions of reality itself.
It's no good. Reality is mutable, and the only hope for the American filth is Jeremiah Schwartz because he's Jewish. Go for it, CIA. You put all your eggs in one basket, Jeremiah Schwartzy boy, and I love omelets. Yum yum. Like the Joker.
We've never been alone. Not really. We've just been waiting for the right lens, the right simulation, to catch a flicker of what's always been there. A shiver in the vacuum, a whisper between worlds, a 12-millisecond glitch that opened the door to forever.
So, Ivanova proved you could send healing down the telephone line. If you want to hear her story, you can buy Ostrander Schroeder's book, or get Mike to send you the MP3s for whatever he wants to charge you. Now, if you can send healing down the telephone line, which of course is electricity, which is part of Maxwell's equations, the 4-vector, then of course you can send the opposite of healing to the point of remote manipulation down the telephone line, can you not? So, in this case, we can simply pick things we want to send down the telephone line, or in this case, down the 4-vector via Wi-Fi and the imbecile Elon Musk satellites, to our targeted individuals to be remotely manipulated. So here we've got a self-similar Jeremiah Schwartz. He's a Jew boy like Jeremiah Schwartz and his ilk, and this billionaire died from pancreatic cancer. So, say you're targeting the Rothschilds, royal family, or Rockefellers, and you want to give them cancer to remotely manipulate them so they get into the Steve Jobs state, which is dead as doo-doo. You can, using Ivanova, upload pancreatic cancer via Ivanova, because if you can download healing, you can download illness, and in this case, downloading illness that causes you to be remotely manipulated and not survive. And this Jewish billionaire died from pancreatic cancer. So one can imagine in the TV screen a doorway which you use your remote viewing to step through, and you don't take the position of the image, Steve Jobs, that you're about to steal his pancreatic cancer death, the conscious field and the quantum field that you're going to import into the targeted individual. No, you're simply going to step through the doorway in the TV or the device and fall asleep in the position you are watching the screen. Me, of course, I'm lounging in my very hard chair because I'm a Spartan and there's no cushions for me, and that's why I'm totally ripped, because I never lounge and I'm always working out. But for you couch potatoes, you can simply visualize using lucid waking. You waking up in the 4-vector that's been transmitted through the TV, waking up not once but twice to bilocate into it, and then you grab the quantum field and conscious field of Steve Jobs, which of course is the pancreatic cancer. Lovely. With your right hand, not the left hand. You don't want to be accepting, you want to just be able to pull it out so you can give. And you then visualize yourself waking up back in the armchair, not once but twice, with the conscious field and quantum field and the scalenionics, torsionics, leptionics of the pancreatic cancer. Why? Because the targeted individual needs to be given pancreatic cancer. So then you can simply choose your target remember, with cancer, you're then, because of cell similarity, linking up to all the cancerous people that died from cancer. And then, of course, same modus operandi, you simply can then use the remote manipulation protocols by locating into Elon Musk with the cancer in your right hand. And those protocols were given, and you simply then repeat the protocols given in the remote influencing and remote manipulation, but with the Steve Jobs cancer in your right hand. And instead of dumping your death force from the Death Star, you're dumping the pancreatic cancer from Steve Jobs into the target, in this case Elon Musk. Then you can simply, once you've incepted, remember Steve Jobs was one of the icons of the internet, worshipped by the human race. And of course, even I've got an Apple iPad because they're brilliant. You can then step through the TV screen again and go after everyone with turbo cancers. And we showed you all the influences coming from turbo cancers. And you can simply grab with the right hand the turbo cancers, which link you to all the turbo cancers because of cell similarity of the Borg, and then use the previous protocols to dump that into Elon Musk, and of course his children and his wifeys and everyone associated with Elon Musk, because he's a targeted individual. And the only good targeted individual is a cancerous targeted individual. Similarly, we can go in the TV screen and steal a conscious field, quantum field, death from Virginia Giuffre, who was suicided by the Rothschilds and the rest of the pedos. Well, Tim, you know, I simply stick it into the woman. You know, what do I do in the TV screen, Tim? Because I'm dumb and human. Tim, I don't know what to do, Tim. Please tell me. Well, you can simply stick your right hand into her, because she's now dead, and pull out, or simply pull out a assemblage point which contained a Higgs field, the Higgs boson, and the death spot, and the gap. Then export and then use the protocols we had previously to then stick her suicide into another targeted individual. So we can now use remote manipulation, but not with cancers, but with suiciding, or being suicided. I'm not going to comment on whether she was suicidal or not, but the People's Voice seemed to think that she was suicided. And here we've got Virginia Giuffre's father has broken his silence, rejecting the official narrative surrounding his daughter's sudden death and demanding a federal investigation. Sky Roberts says Virginia was making plans for the future and had no reason, blah, blah, blah. But of course she was suicided, allegedly. But of course she makes the perfect suicide weapon system because of course if she was suicided, the royal family and the Rothschilds, who have intermarried with the royal family, would have been behind it. So you drain the royal family and the Rothschilds to power the suicide weapon system to remotely manipulate the target individuals. So it's a win-win-win-win-win situation. So suicide is now something that you can corrupt the quantum field of the consciousness of any target you like, using Virginia Giuffre, all powered by the Rothschilds and royal family. So as you can see, she's very useful. And we've got Epstein survivor Juliet Bryant has issued a chilling warning. Victims of the elite paedophile networks are being systematically eliminated to keep the truth buried, according to insiders. A covert campaign is underway to silence those. So it looks like they're not very happy with the whistleblowers. So, next one is the Pope. We can use this technology to steal the death of the Pope, and all the Catholics will then be powering our remote manipulation. The 1 billion Catholics, I think there's more than 1 billion, but you know, all of them will be powering the death force that we're dumping into the target individuals for remote manipulation. So you can simply pick Nathan Rothschild, go into the screen with the pedo Pope, grab his conscious field and quantum field of death and the scalenics, torsionics, leptionics around his death, drag it out with the right hand, bilocate Nathaniel Rothschild, and then use the protocols as before. If you're a lazy bastard, you can simply just dump them into his gap and his assemblage point and death spot, plus his death will be pulled into the gap, because you're basically not fisting his anus, you're fisting his gap, and you don't need rubber fisting gloves to stop getting shit on your hands. You simply are doing it using psi. So once you've fisted his gap and plunged the Pope's death into his midsection, he will start dying, powered by the entire Catholic worshipping community. So, as I say, the Pope has become the #1 hitman of the sidewalk. I recommend using the Pope 24/7, because the only good Catholic is a well-fisted Catholic.